Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Daily Wolves episode. It's me, of course, Will, and today I have not one co-host, but two. So I'm joined by Chris. Chris, hello, how are we?
Hello, happy Friday, everyone.
You got there before me.
I did. I was snuck in there. I knew you were going to steal my thunder. That's my line. Don't you dare.
So yeah, obviously everybody, Chris, they already know you. They know you.
But sadly, yeah.
They may have missed. They may have missed that we made a signing here at Daily Wolves, and it's Nathan. Nathan, hello and welcome to the team.
Hello everyone. Glad to be here. Part of the Fantastic Three.
Yeah. Come next week in week 2, you won't get introduced anymore. It'll just be like, yeah, he's here. It's fine.
He's here. He's been here for ages.
Yeah.
Now I'm giving you the spotlight for now. But yeah, so we're all gathered here today to preview our fixture on Saturday against Liverpool. Liverpool at home tomorrow, boys.
Yeah.
How are we feeling?
There's a pause around the room, and I think there's a feeling of trepidation, potentially anxiety. I mean, going into when just to catch everyone up, earlier, I think a week or two ago, we ran through kind of Will and I our predictions for how many points we might get from September, and looking at the forecast of September overall hasn't gone at all the way we thought it would. I predicted potentially 4 points from the 3 games, but 0. And going into the Liverpool game, I'm nothing I've said has come true, so I'm not holding out much hope at this point.
Yeah, your prediction could be on track though. All we have to do is beat Liverpool, and you're straight in there. 4 points on the dot.
Wait, how many?
What? Forest was August.
Sorry, it was 4 points from
solely September. Sorry. Again.
See, I am Mr. Optimism on this show, and I was bold in my prediction, but yeah.
No, I was also, for some reason, optimistic. I think just to sort of, just to make myself feel better more than anything else. I also said 4 points. We expected some of those points to come in the 2 games that we just played. As you mentioned, that hasn't happened, and it doesn't show any sort of real sign of happening tomorrow.
No, but my prediction was a point from Newcastle and 3 from Villa, because I was being bold and really wanted to beat Villa, because I have family members that support Villa, so that was my whole reasoning. Obviously, that hasn't worked out. Nathan, how would you like? Let's start with you, I guess, if I can shepherd it your way, so we're not stealing all the thunder. But what are you thinking for Saturday, tomorrow? Even have you got any hopes? Any dreams? Is there any hope for us?
I mean, any dreams? Yeah, there's a clear dream. Molineux under the lights and a good 3 points would be absolutely fantastic. I guess the hope from me is just to see a resilient performance. And I think that's something that we're kind of crying out for. 90 minutes of a bit of grit and a bit of determination in trying to grind out whatever we've got on the scorecard, on the score sheet. I don't know. It is a bit of huff and puff at the minute, isn't it? So hopefully,
it's going to have to be.
Yeah, I think it's the 90 minutes, right? Is the thing. I think that's what we all want. Is we've had a lot of this. One half is great, and then it all goes to pot. And it all drifts away, particularly late second half. It's the 90 minutes. However we get the result, right? It's 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And I guess just seeing, seeing some sort of consistency throughout that time, and a bit of, I guess, continued structure over, as you said, the 90 minutes would be fantastic. I think going forwards, we've looked positive for spells of games, but then I guess similar to our defensive play, we've also looked, non-existent going forwards for large spells of games as well. So it'd be nice to have a little bit of both consistently throughout 90 minutes. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, the point I was going to make, I was gonna tell you a personal story aside from Wolves, but my Sunday League team, right? we've been awful this season. We've made an awful start. We lost our first 3 games, right? And just this Sunday, just gone, it was very much a case of the manager came in. He said, "Right, lads, 5 at the back, um, 2 in midfield, 3 up top." And if you, I don't know what it was like where you guys were, but if you were where I was playing football on Sunday, it was chucking it down with rain. It was relentless. It was freezing cold. It was boggy. It was vile. We were away from home, but we grafted. And we churned out a point away from home. And that's the sort of, you know, performance in a weird sort of way. Obviously, the levels of quality may differ slightly. But
I thought you were going with the prospect there that we just need to sign your manager and you. Is that not where you're going with this story?
I mean, look, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but if João Gomez's number 8 shirt becomes available, I will be putting it on. But no, but is that sort of consistent resiliation throughout a prolonged period of time across those 90 minutes, be rigid and fight for every ball, and give us something. We're paying good money here, to see inconsistency throughout each game of football. Like we said, it's every game lately has been a game of 2 halves.
I think the thing is, right, normally, like we mentioned recently, in previous seasons since we've been in the Premier League, we've always done pretty well against the top clubs. I mean, debatably, especially under the new era, we'd always do well against the likes of Liverpool. Especially at home, you'd always go in there positive, thinking this is a game we can, at the very least, draw, if not win. We fancied ourselves always to do something, and the vibe is so different right now. It just feels like everyone is walking into Molineux at the weekend thinking, well, we're just going to get trounced. I mean,
yeah,
I don't want to say that, but that's what it feels like. And I want to walk out thinking, win or lose, that there's still optimism, that they give a performance that makes me think, okay, the next game there's going to be more hope, or just going forward. It just feels like every time we walk away at the moment, it's a little bit more deflating.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind it if, as we've spoken about, it wasn't so predictable. And it just feels like we're going through the motions already, in terms of none of us are confident. And Chris, if you're not confident or upbeat about the game, then I know that something must be going on. And it's up to Gary O'Neill and the players to change that, hopefully.
So what do we think? Let's try and, rather than this sit here, because I'm not sure everyone doesn't want to hear us just go like, oh, it's going to be awful.
Yeah.
So, like, Nathan, what do you think, for example, they've got to do, other than just saying grit, because it's all well and good for us to just go a gritty performance, but what do we think they've actually got to do? Be that people, changing something in the lineup? I mean, we mentioned, obviously, I know you guys discussed changing whether it's to a back 5. Obviously, we've got Mascara out, someone who's coming in, I presume, if he's fit, Totti. But what are we expecting to see? What do we think we need to do?
I think he's got a real job on his hands, hasn't he, Gary O'Neill? I mean, it's tricky because we do, I think, have quite a decent spine to the team. And when you look at good teams in the Prem, you always think, okay, if that spine's strong, you've got a decent chance to go up against most opposition. And I think if you've got, in our case, Ballon Dawson at centre half, Andre and Cunha, that's a really solid spine. I mean, you can switch around a few of those positions, but I guess I know we've spoken a lot about our defensive kind of gaps and lack of organisation at times, but it'd be nice if we've got a threat going forwards, or at least one that brings some goals and some real clear-cut chances, because it does feel like there's times, even when Cunha's gone, and had amazing spells of running through teams. And it's just that final third where we maybe not delivered a good ball or got our shot away, and then all of a sudden, because we haven't capitalised on that, it just feels like it very quickly can feel like we're going back onto the back foot. It'd be nice to keep longer periods of pressure and see our forwards get at teams a little bit more. And I know maybe Liverpool isn't the team that we're going to be able to dominate the ball, but I do think we can cause them problems. We've caused them problems in the past. We've been very good on the break against them historically, so why not do that again this weekend? I think I don't know, a player that I'd like to see a little bit more of is Forbes. I think he's looked electric at times when he's come on, and I know he's only had really small periods on the pitch, but it'd be good to see him just shake things up and let the players know that even though defensively we have been poor and that's where the spotlight's always been, but the strikers need to produce as well. And if they're not, then we do have a strong bench in those areas.
Yeah, I think it's a good point you make, especially in terms of we all knew when we went in 1-0 up against Villa at half-time, we all knew that we weren't holding on to that lead. But if that lead just changes to 2-0, that changes the dynamics of the game completely. And instead of, like you said, being on the back foot, soaking up pressure and it just feeling like a matter of time until we go on to concede or go on to then lose. If you're a bit more, like you said, clear cut and just extremely, extremely efficient with your finishing going forwards, which is what you have to be to pick up points, especially in the position we're in. That sort of mid-table Premier League side. The only way you progress up that bunch of teams is by fine margins, and so I think it's definitely a valid point. And just before Chris, you offer us your thoughts on it, I would like to ask the listeners: do you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear? Have you struggled with reaching new audiences who are engaged with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast. Let me tell you about a platform we use here at the Global Sports Podcast Network. Zencastr makes it easy to start a high-quality podcast built for growth from day one. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes ums, ahs, your nose, and 22 other speech patterns, Zencastr makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Fabulously done, Will.
Yes, thank you. We're now going to learn more about Chris. What do you think specifically you'd like to see different, perhaps, against Liverpool?
I think, and as I say this, you'll hear potentially some ASMR purring from my cat as he walks past the microphone. That the biggest thing Nathan spoke about the likes of Forbes and so on, and I think in relation to what we've mentioned in previous episodes, opportunities for some of these bench players and people to be given a chance to shine when we're having the same people come on and not do it. Hwang, there's an element. We keep seeing the same subs of, say, Hwang, Bellegarde starting. Yes, but I know Bellegarde scored a great goal and he's done pretty well, but still, it's not been working one way or another. We haven't been getting results, so let's mix it up a bit. And I want to see more of Forbes. I want to see more of Gomez. Some of these people being given chances, whether it's from the start or whether they're coming on earlier than they have been, because some of them are coming on with like 5 minutes to go. You can't impact the game with that. And the rest of the time, it's Hwang. It's always Hwang, Doc, and that's pretty much it.
You may as well stick me on.
Yeah, and I love Hwang to an extent. I think you can't knock the fact that everyone, obviously, all the managers think he's a consummate professional. Clearly works really hard on the training ground. Clearly loved from a professional footballer point of view, because they know they know what they're going to get in terms of work rate and ethics. So clearly valuable, and not just, as a marketing commodity, but as a squad player. But he's not been the same since he went off to Asia for the tournament last spring. And he's not so just give some of these other guys a chance to come on earlier and be a bit more proactive than reactive. I want to see more. I know that, Rodrigo Gomez potentially isn't that good, as good defensively, but he's looked really sharp and lively going forward. And like I say, we've been scoring, but we haven't been getting the second goal that we need to kill games off.
No.
I want to see more of that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Chris. I think Hwang feels like he's the type of player that you bring on when you're winning 2-0 and you want to keep your shape and make sure that you're hunting down and controlling the opposition's area of possession and stuff. I mean, but I don't know. I've got this feeling that O'Neill's going to still start him because he's going to want to be as solid as possible at home. He's not going to want to ship goals early on. And we've seen with the issues defensively, I wish he'd start someone like Rodrigo Gomez and Forbes and kind of go, balls to the wall with it. But I don't know if I can see him making that big decision from the off.
Yeah, I mean, the question was, what do we think needs to be done potentially, or what would we like to see? I don't think he's going to do it. I think I'd be amazed if he even shifts to back five, particularly with the fact if you think we're now even more short at centre back, because if you play the back three and someone gets hurt, you're even more stuck as to who to bring on, who to shuffle over. So I really don't think he's going to want to do that.
I think that's a better risk to take than us conceding more goals, losing another game, and having a goal difference of minus whatever it is. I'd way rather that Doherty has to play right centre back in a 3 and twist his ankle.
I hear you, but I really don't
no,
think he's going to do it.
It's not going to happen. No, it's not going to happen.
I think it's going to be 4, and I think, but like we said, there's no reason why we shouldn't. We have, for large periods, like we said, dominated games. Even the second half against Arsenal, when we were bright and optimistic opening of the season, there was moments there to shine. We've now got 3 Brazilian internationals in the starting lineup. I mean, for heaven's sake, there is strength there to be proud of. Yes, we're lacking in certain points, but we should be, giving them a competition and a fight. But I want to see a bit more proactivity, and I want to see more of these players that are sat on the bench, not doing anything, getting more chances. And I want to see, like, even Guedes, who 2 years ago, I hated that man and didn't want him anywhere near us. And now I want that guy on, because he scored like 2 goals. I know it was against Burnley, but he scored 2 there, and he scored another one in the cup. Was it against Brighton? Like, he's actively scoring goals. Put him on the pitch. Like, like, Hwang's not done anything. Put Guedes on early. He's coming on with like 5 minutes to go. It's not good enough.
No, I think that's a big thing, actually, about the substitutions, and probably my least favourite thing about O'Neill. And mainly, this is sort of the biggest part of the reasons why I can understand the few people who are calling for O'Neill out. Not that I necessarily agree with that, but it's just his game management and substitutions in relation to that in general, I just think are shocking. I think it's so bad, so consistently bad. So many times where the subs don't make sense. And it's either they don't make sense when they do come on, or they simply don't come on, as you've just alluded to. I mean, we look at the Newcastle game. Their subs changed the game. They were proactive with their substitutions, and it twisted. Don't get me wrong, we helped them play their way back into it, I felt. But you look at that, and then you look at the Villa game just gone. They made those changes at half time. And it was a game of 2 halves, and we conceded 3.
And the morale now is low. And Nathan, I presume you'll agree, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. But Will and I said that first equalising goal went in at Villa. We all knew we were going to lose at that point. Pretty much, you just knew that it was going to then only go one way. It didn't even feel like it was going to be a draw at that point. It felt like it was just a matter of time. So that's why we need the second. We need to be aggressive, because we can't shut people out. So we've got to score more goals.
Yeah, I think what's felt, not to add to the negative energy, but it's felt as though O'Neill hasn't had a response to opposition managers' tactical changes. So obviously, it's times where, a game of 2 halves, but the only bit in between the halves is the time that manager gets with his players. And obviously, the opposition teams that we're playing are getting valuable information in that 15 minutes at half time. And It feels as though in that
O'Neill's just talking to Doherty about the golf course on the weekend or some nonsense. Yeah.
Or Huang's next marketing ploy, but like
the
I guess it's fine if you've had a great first half. You're only going to tell, we're not managers ourselves, but I'm imagining he's saying, sort of keep going the way you are, keep dominating the ball the way we are. We're creating loads of chances, and then second half, if something changes, then you expect O'Neill to change again. If we start in that second half and we started off poorly, that happens to so many teams. Football is such a momentum game; things switch all the time. So if the other team started off positively, that's absolutely fine. Let's not think, oh, geez, we're going to have 45 minutes of being under the cosh here. O'Neill can, we can change things again. And we've got players on the pitch that can also bring us that momentum, like we've got some amazing ball carriers, some fantastic players. I know, as Chris, as you were saying, Brazilian internationals, for God's sake, like we should have some pride in that when we have been on the back foot, let's just cool. We can soak up a bit of pressure and we can go again. It doesn't have to be forever or for the whole half.
No.
Yeah. Chris, I just want to first of all apologise because there was some little digs there towards Huang and Doc. They were more aimed at O'Neill, or at least they were from my point of view. And also,
I did say just to comment that
go
on. I think they are they're being overused. That's my cat.
Yeah,
they're being overused. I think I love them. You can't knock what Doc has done for the club in his history. It's a great servant to the club overall. If you count all of his time together, and likewise, Huang has scored some valuable goals for us. But I just want to see a bit more variety.
For anyone listening without the visuals, Chris's second cat is now getting in on the action. And Chris, I assume the cat can hear me, and I'm going to tell your cat, I don't know his name, that this podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day. And whilst I was reading it out, it just dawned upon me that Chris has got as many cats in this recording as we have fit first team centre halves.
Oh, nice segue. I will point out on the optimism side, if we try there we go. There's my cat picking everything off. Great.
I'm leaving that in the recording.
Fantastic. Thanks. This has been the best recording ever, guys. Thanks so much. So professional here, I know. On a positive note, or potentially, I don't know however you want to look at it, but if we think about the teams we've played so far, so we've played Villa are now third in the table, played them. Arsenal fourth in the table, played them. Chelsea fifth in the table, played them. Newcastle sixth in the table, played them. Liverpool is second this weekend, we'll play them. And then Man City, what is that next after that? Or within 2 games? So we've played most of what is now forming into the top 6 over the first 5 games. So, just to throw a just to be devil's advocate, I'm just, we're debating.
I get it. That. Sorry, I just think that that would be a lot more of a sort of comfort blanket if it wasn't for the fact that we've heard O'Neill say that the plan is to push for Europe, the fact that Fosun have taken us from Europe a few seasons ago to where we are now. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of fans still believe that that's the level we should be aiming for, and I think rightly so. Otherwise, might as well all pack up and go home.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I totally agree. We should be pushing there. I'm just, as I say, playing devil's advocate. That you can point out that we have played what is now forming into the top few teams of the table. So, I'm being from Mr. Optimism. Is there light at the end of the tunnel, Nathan? Is there light?
Oh, definitely. I definitely think there is. I mean, I like to think I'm on your side of the optimism here, Chris. I think we've got, if you look at the next 6 fixtures, if we're looking ahead, okay, Liverpool and City, that's difficult. We know that. We're at home in both of those. So there's an opportunity to hopefully, we can dream, right, to get a point, maybe 2 if we want to stretch it. And then we've got Brentford, Brighton, Southampton and Crystal Palace. And if you look at those 4 games, you surely fancy yourself. And I mean, we should fancy ourselves against anyone, right? There's no reason as to why we should think that we're going to automatically lose games, especially if we're playing teams at home. No matter who comes to the Molineux, we should back ourselves, right? But yeah, I do think there's reason to be optimistic, and hopefully we can see that from the players on Saturday under the lights at Molineux. Yeah.
Yeah. My only thing that I pick up on with that is, of course, it's works well in our favour being at home at Molineux, but the atmosphere I can see sort of starting to work against us if results don't pick up. I mean, add to that the fact that a lot of fans have been priced out this season, and you're miles away from the atmosphere during games. United at home in the cup, the 3-2 against City, and so on and so on. There's been plenty of games like that where, against the so-called Big Six, Molineux has been rocking, and I remember Conor Cody used to say it was like the South Bank. It was like they sucked the ball into the net for the team, with the atmosphere they created. When, we're rocking up to our next home fixture after this, and we've not picked up any points in a month, and O'Neill's come out with a few more excuses. We've got another injury. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can see it getting to the point where it actually starts to become quite toxic down there, and obviously I don't want that to be the case, but I wouldn't blame people in a way, especially with the money they're paying to be there.
Yeah, on the bright side, you look at, as I say, you look past that top 5 or 6, because we've played virtually all of them now, bar a couple still to come. And then the rest of the table, you're like, okay, we shouldn't be thinking like this, but okay, fine, we can take the rest of them on. So there's like the end of the tunnel. On the downside, that potentially is no points till November ish, and then you're like, well, okay, by the time we do play those teams, are the team going to be completely bereft of morale? So that you go to Brentford and suddenly 1 goal and you're crushed because they've just got it's because you get into that losing mentality. So there's a good side to it and a bad side to it. Yes, we're going to get through this batch of teams, and it's like, come on, let's just now churn through them. But is it going to be too late? Is it going to be too late because they'll just be like winded?
I have to say, you mentioning, the thought of no points until November, that's terrifying.
It's technically I'm not, look at it.
Yeah. No, but like you said, because then it makes every game even harder than it has to be. Games you should win, you start to not win. There's even more pressure, and I don't, that worries me. When you look at the season as a whole, because of the downward spiral that it could, that domino effect that it could have.
I think you're right, guys. I think Molineux would get very, very toxic very quickly. I mean, it already is. You can feel the tide starting to turn on O'Neill. Like, he's had a bit of cash in the bank from last season, with the amount of people just sort of expecting us to finish in the bottom 3 from the off and kind of writing us off and stuff. So I guess that first season he's got cash in from that, but he's had a full pre-season and the club's really had time to be set properly. So if results don't turn for the positive in the next few games, you can see that momentum maybe being almost too negative to turn around. But I mean, we're thinking ahead here.
I hope we're all wrong. But
so at risk of stealing your thunder, Will, I'm just thinking, given that we've ranted on, basically we've tried to be optimistic and ended up always going back to a rant of some kind. But so what do we actually believe the score will be this weekend? Is anyone going to say a win or a defeat, or what's going on here? What's going on?
3-0 Wolves, 3-0.
That with you starting in midfield.
Yes, it is. Yeah. That's it. That's my prediction.
You going for, okay?
That's
right.
it.
I'm going with 2-2.
Okay.
I think I think we are inevitably going to concede, not to be staying to that negative, but on a positive note, I do see us being able to trouble them defensively. And I do think that Strand Larsen's gonna pop up at the back stick. That's my prediction.
Chris,
I like him.
What's your cat's prediction, Chris?
Oh my gosh, honestly, guys, the worst night ever. The missus is out, which is why it's nearly feeding time and they're going crazy. I do apologise. There you go, people. There's a behind the curtain glimpse for you. But honestly, just a caveat there, I like Strand Larsen. I know he scored the one goal, but I've been encouraged. He's looked lively. I mean, the assist for who did he put the assist in for?
Tommy Doyle.
No, it was against Newcastle. It was Lamina's goal where João Gomez.
Right.
The step over, because the way he broke on the wing and actually used his strength to shove the defender off. And I thought the defender was going to get the ball, and he was really strong in his run. And he reminded me of, I'm not saying he's any like that at all, but there was a Jimenez element about that run and assist. He's looked lively. He's looked fairly strong in the air as well. He's been unlucky with a couple of moments, hit the post and things. And I think on another day he could have already had a couple more. So I know he hasn't set the world on fire, but I think he is positive. I think I'm gonna side with Nathan and go 2-2 because I do think there's an element of missed optimism there in that I think at least a draw, or I'm going to hope for the draw. But I do think, likewise, we can't keep a clean sheet, especially against the likes of Liverpool at the moment. Whatever formation, I think they're looking really solid. So I believe that they will score, but I believe that we can. And we've shown we've scored. Well, have we scored in nearly every game? I feel I haven't got the stats in front of me, but I feel like we have to one extent or another. And so I'm pretty sure we can put one or two past them. So 2-2.
Yeah, I like it. And just to finish up on an even more positive note, which I now realise as I've gone to do it is somewhat useless for the listeners, but it's just to show you two guys. You mentioned Jimenez just a moment ago, and I can't believe I've never showcased to you this to you before, Chris. If I just hold this up, little signed Jimenez top. So that's a good omen. It's a good omen for the weekend, that is.
So for the audio listeners, Will's brandishing his signed Raul Jimenez number 9 shirt. Very nice.
Yes. And I think that's about as positive a note that we can finish on, guys. I think, some relatively probably somewhat just delusional predictions, I think.
How dare you?
Sorry, I think, I'm just reminiscing over my 3-0.
How dare you? Just remember, everyone, out of darkness cometh light.
I like it.
Too right.
We'll see. But everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. And Nathan and Chris, thank you both for joining us here today. It's the first of many, I'd like to think, of the three of us here. And it's good that we've got a bit of company now as well, Chris, isn't it? Because it's shaping up to be a long old season.
I need someone to talk to when you're busy crying over Neves. So
I thought we had done a whole episode without it.
No.
Oh no!
You're welcome, everyone. Enjoy the weekend. Look the Wolves.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.